And the professionals that you've surrounded yourselves with, the folks that you've hired, they're going to dictate your success going forward as a public company.
You're a private company, you're doing well, you see a path forward, and you're like, wow, we need some capital. And you're thinking about capital markets, public markets. What's the first step?
Usually it's going to be talking to your institutional investors, whether it's your VC firm, private equity firm, or if you've bootstrapped, then you're just going to be talking to investment bankers straight away. But if it's VC, private equity, you'll ask them for who do you think is the right investment banker to help manage this IPO process. And typically, depending on the industry or the size of the company, right, there'll be investment bankers that are interested in it, that have expertise in that particular industry, or match your company's size profile in terms of what you expect to go public. And so typically, you'll be interviewing anywhere from 10 to 15 investment bankers and hearing their pitch, why they should take you public, and what advice they can offer, and just how supportive they will be of the stock after the IPO. Because, right, that's a big part of it. It's not just the IPO, it's the months and years after the IPO. And that's where you really need an investment banker that's going to support the company. And
Matt, let's talk IPO roadshow. CFOs got to get out there and they've got to talk to investors. What are you hearing about that?
Well, it's the opportunity for the investing public and the institutional investors really to build their confidence in the company. And the CFO becomes at that point the chief marketer for the company, and these roadshows can have a significant impact on the ultimate market cap of the company going out for IPO.
I've heard so many times that the CFO, this is their chance to practice a little bit, right? Get out and tell their story over and over again. I think that they have the official roadshow and they probably have the unofficial roadshow. Tell us more.
Well, the investment bankers will set the meetings up with smaller institutional investors, right? And so that's obviously they'll do a dry run in the office, but then these smaller institutional investors is where you hear some critical feedback, just maybe on the performance of the CFO or the actual economics or the finance of the company. And that's an opportunity for feedback, so that when you then go to the larger institutional investors, you've got a really refined pitch to be able to offer to those larger institutional investors.
Yeah, it sounds like you really get a chance to build some excitement in the marketplace, in a pre-marketplace maybe.
Yeah.
And then really get to the retail investors after that.
Yeah, and that's really, it's all about, right, what the investment bankers call building the book. And so they start with the small institutional investors, work their way up to the big guys. And a lot of the big guys, right, they've sold deals to them before, and so they're almost guaranteeing them some form of pop on the IPO. And that they'll intentionally price the IPO just slightly below where they think is the right number, or where the shares will trade at after the IPO, so they can almost lock in some gains for their larger institutional investors. But that's exactly the game plan: is build excitement, build momentum, get those retail investors excited and hungry, so they're going to create the pop in the market.
When it comes to like business modeling and going out on this roadshow, is that the same as like FP&A?
It is. It's just a more detailed, more elaborate process. And typically a company is going to set targets, horizons for the next 5 years when you're a private company, but you're only going to do financial modeling maybe out 1 year. And now it's really building a more robust financial model that does go out 3 years, that tracks back to your actual historical performance. And so you need to have, generally more sophisticated tools than a simple Excel spreadsheet.
Obviously, the IPO date for any company is a great day, but it's really what's going to happen after that. And you're saying that the relationships that you have after becoming a public company, they matter.
Absolutely. For the investment bankers that you've established, whether they're going to continue to support the stock, and the professionals that you've surrounded yourselves with, the folks that you've hired, they're going to dictate your success going forward as a public company.